This is our sequel number 75. The Mothers Union is born 1908, and the big question of Sir.Apollo Kaggwa books. Did he write them? We shall now revisit his books. The Church of Uganda at 150 years, a celebration of our church and our state. The sequel author, Christopher Amos Chikomeko Ntambi. Welcome. On Saturday, the 21st of November 1908, Uganda's Mothers Union was born at Buddo by the wife of the headmaster, Miss Eileen Weatherhead. Originally, 22 wives to the young men studying at Buddo King's School started the body. The objective then was keeping holy matrimony, raise Christian children, and link married women countrywide. Therefore, thanks to Bishop Tucker's call for women conferences, the last of which was in 1906, Mothers Union had earlier been founded in England in 1876 by Mary Sumner. So the King's School male, the Buddo King's School male-only students were much older, and therefore they came from polygamous families. It is their wives who became the pioneers of the Mothers Union. Mary Sumner was the wife of the vicar of Old Aresford parish near Winchester in Hampshire, UK. She had envisaged a fellowship for prayer and mutual support that brought together mothers of all social classes in the churches of the Anglican Communion. At first, it spread in England as more and more mothers learned how much help came to them from being joined together in a society with each other, all seeking God's help in caring for their homes and children. Soon, colonial branches sprang up to cater for expatriate and army wives, or in connection with missionary work in the other countries. So first in 1893, it spread to New Zealand and Australia, and of course many other countries later, but finally Uganda, 1908 was created, and the Mothers Union therefore created a new place for the Virgin Mary, but carefully distanced themselves from the Roman Catholic doctrine of Mother Mary, the Mother of God. You know, that kind of language. The Mothers Union was incorporated into a legal body by a royal charter, and by 1926 it had built a headquarters, the famous Mary Sumner House, on Tufton Street, Westminster, in London. So much for the Mothers Union. We shall revisit them in future sequels. The recognized pioneer leader is Miss Eileen Weatherhead, who was in charge from 1908 all the way to 1912. And I repeat, she was the wife of the Buddo headmaster, Mr. Weatherhead. Right, now Sir.Apollo Kaggwa books. In 1908, a new book, ekitabo ky'ebika bya Buganda, a book on the clans of Buganda. The research Kaggwa made without any course study on how people write books, with a very limited education. Church Missionary Society offered for him to learn to write, read, and do arithmetic in numeracy. Then later missionaries coaching him how to speak English, but again it remained very broken English. Then being particular, being very busy. Later on as a co-regent, again very busy, but there he is with time to write. So this book, the book on the clans of Buganda, the book on the clans of Uganda in 1908, was his fifth. And it is in that book that clearly he gave the chronology of his own ancestry. He, however, attacked the Roman Catholic Church. He also attacked the Islamic religion. He then portrayed, in this book, he portrayed Mwanga II as an evil man, misguided by wrong counselors. So this is 1908, but we can see the anger he had with Mwanga still existed. Now, I want to address problems that future researchers have encountered, and in respect to what other people write about Kaggwa and his books. Now, let's just acknowledge one fact, that Apollo Kaggwa was a great writer. Let's also reflect on the times of his writing, a time when there was no technology to help him, as in typewriter, proofreaders, dictionary. His education was in the chieftaincies. And it is this kind of man who therefore put pen to paper and gave us what we should value and not simply abuse. The leading critic of Apollo Kaggwa's books are people with Bachelor of Science degrees, Bachelor of Education degrees. They hold them in history. Here they are criticizing an elementary level writer, not even an elementary level writer, which elementary level is recognized in today's terms, but an elementary level writer in as far as reading, numeracy is concerned. So Apollo Kaggwa, in a manner that would make one think that the latter was a fellow bachelor degree holder, no, he wasn't. Therefore, criticism for his books is, I think, very unfair if they did not appreciate the conditions under which he made his research and also wrote. For example, they accuse him of inaccurate facts and research. They accuse him of being biased by omitting some sources of the facts and the data. In other words, he gives things and yet he does not recognize the people who have given him that data. And they also wonder that if he was indeed the author, as the book attributed to him say, then how come in later editions corrections were never made? Because then they argued the Bazungu who wrote the books for him had already returned to Europe, so they could not review the books, despite the fact that he went on reviewing the books after several years. At some time, one of the accusers of Apollo Kaggwa's books wondered how a very busy Katikiro could have found spare time to write. They also say that through writing, he was able to deny that he was a Msoga. These accusers, unfortunately, I've read a lot of their books. They do not give an alternative ancestry. They simply say he was not a Muganda, he was a Msoga. But they will never tell you his Msoga birth and ancestry. To me, that is an indication that it's a hatred campaign. Others insinuate that his grandfather Bunya was never his real grandfather. In other words, that Bunya who was killed by Suna II, his DNA and that of Apollo Kaggwa do not match. And they do not show you those results, those DNA results. They do not say. They simply say things and dump in their own books. And by the way, people who criticize Apollo Kaggwa, I don't want to mention names, they have written books. And as I say, some are even university professors. I want to go through a few books by 1908. I'll go to Entaro za Buganda. It's a tiny booklet, and it's about the Buganda Civil War of 1889 up to 1892. It was never revised, and that booklet is now extinct. Nobody can find a copy. That was Apollo Kaggwa's first publication. Then there was Basekabaka be Buganda Ankole ne Bunyoro, 1901, a chronology with stories surrounding each fallen king and the officers who served them, as well as the royal family membership of each, which he then revised in 1904. But later, this book has been pirated in English translation. And as family, we are not actually aware of these people who have now translated, and they are pirates. And as a family, I think we can take care of these pirates today. But anyway, that is a family affair. I'll leave it at that. Then there is Ekitabo ky'empisa z'Abaganda. This one was 1905. It's on the rituals, the customs, and the traditions of the Baganda. It was revised in 1918 and again revised in 1927. But also this book has been pirated in both English and Luganda languages. The family is yet to find out on where these people got permission to pirate or to redo the books. Then there is Ekitabo ky'ekika ky'ensenene, 1893. This one is on the clan of the edible class, the edible grasshopper in Buganda. And Sir Apollo Kaggwa wrote it, although now the clan has done a new book. Then there is Ekitabo ky'ebika by'Abaganda, and that is the one that now we are in the sequel of 1908. This is the book that has brought me to this topic. This was released in 1908 on all the clans of Buganda, and it was revised in 1911. And also that book has now been pirated, both in Luganda and in English. We are yet to find out where the pirates got their permission as a family. There is a Sir Apollo Kaggwa Family Foundation. It does exist. It's registered as a council. So the family can get to the bottom of that. It's not the interest of this sequel. And so criticism on those books. They say that the lists of monarchs is slightly different with Apollo Kaggwa's, which is fine. Those who oppose his list, it's a matter of coming up with fresh research. You don't have to criticize. Then there is the allegation that the Reverend John Roscoe is the one who did the research, and then Apollo Kaggwa simply owned his research. And yet, the Reverend John Roscoe wrote his own book. He has a published book about the history of Buganda. I think his book is called Buganda. Then this book on the rituals, customs, and traditions of Buganda was very well researched by Apollo Kaggwa. And the only problem there that they accuse him of is repeating himself. Yeah, he does a lot of repetition. But that's a common problem for all authors. And that's why we have reviewers in this modern age. Apollo Kaggwa did not. So surely for somebody to find time to accuse or to criticize Apollo Kaggwa for repeating himself, I find it very, very, very funny. And these are university professors criticizing his research. Then we have books like the Reverend John Roscoe. Again, I'm going back to him. that some of his own data was used by Apollo Kaggwa in his own books, which means they may have shared research. And similar research ended in on either side. Then the other criticism is that he did not give the source of his data. Now, of course, modern writers will give our sources, but Apollo Kaggwa's time, that was a matter of training. The training they had, they did not find it important. Today, it is important. So yes, it's a genuine criticism, but again, given the technology then, the know-how of then, and the professionalism of the writer then, it is not something that you can criticize Apollo Kaggwa for. And I also must say that subsequently, in the editions that came after 1900, then Sir Apollo Kaggwa produced the sources of his data. They are bibliographies on these particular revised books. That doesn't come out in the criticism. It's as if it was never rectified. And to prove that he has done it, he has given a list of interview informers, and he has recognized the following. His own sister, Maria Mugwoisa, he has recognized Princess Tojura. He has recognized a source of Luka Sekamwa Kibale. He has recognized Paulo Buzibwa. He has recognized Isaiah Mayanja. He has recognized Tefiro Kuruji. He has recognized his own big brother, Ibrahim Basude. He has recognized Saulo Boji. He has recognized one Makumbi, one Chieye, one Kuranga, one Lujumba, one Bitanga, one Abednego, Misaja Nkumbi. He has recognized the Rasto Kaggwa, and he has recognized the backcloth maker at Kasaka, Ndalike. Why am I saying this? Those accusing him of never disclosing his sources, when in fact in subsequent editions he did. Then the women and the men who guarded the royal tomb jawbones and their umbilical cords of the fallen Sekabakas gave very valuable and wide history to Apollo Kaggwa as a source. This he does not say, but I only know from his own loose papers and archives at Makerere, his correspondences. Apollo Kaggwa, as Katikiro, could summon as many informants as he wanted, and they had no option but to oblige. So for you to say he was too busy, where did he get time to write? I find that criticism very wanting. Now, Apollo Kaggwa, allegedly coming from Musoga, is not something that he addressed directly. All he did was to write and give his own ancestry. So those who accuse him of being Musoga, it's as if he never gave his ancestry. Now, if I were there, I would say Apollo Kaggwa gives this ancestry, which is not true. The true one is this, but there is no alternative of all those accusing him of not being a Muganda. And I find that to be very unprofessional. And I'm talking about university professors writing history books and putting these things in their books. Apollo Kaggwa had a lot of errors and inaccuracies that almost all clans, including his own, are now busy rewriting their own clan history over the years. And now that's where his sources come in. If he had declared his sources, you are writing your own books about your clans, and you are writing your own sources, and then that's it. That is very allowed in the writing industry or in the writing profession. As long as your source is different from somebody else's, you cannot accuse another of being wrong to have written the way he did, based on the research he did. So that was the research he made, and that is what he wrote based on that research. So if subsequent research is rectifying what he researched and was wrong, now I don't think you should be criticizing. I have a feeling that what should be done now is to say he was wrong. This is the correct situation. That would be the professional approach. Then there are those who say that Apollo Kaggwa deliberately avoided explaining in all his books about the pre-1900 Buganda Agreement land ownership system. I think that is true. I have no books of him deliberating much on land, but again, given his knowledge, and you see, the scholars are the ones who are bringing this up, that he should have spent time explaining exactly what was happening. But, well, they are right, I have admitted, but on the other side, if he didn't know, if he didn't have the technical know-how of exactly how to put it down, then I don't see how he would have put it down. Let this be the sequel for today. In the next sequel, we will continue with the defense of Apollo Kaggwa's books. May the good Lord bless us all.